David Moore, the police chief in Janesville. To my immediate right is Lieutenant Keith Laver. We would both like to thank you for appearing on such short notice for this press conference. But we have been trying very hard to get this information out to you in a timely manner. We made that effort on the day of the Trump event, and we continue to do that today. This press conference is addressing an update on the alleged sexual assault and disturbance that occurred at the Trump political rally on March 29th. On March 29th, I held a pre-scheduled press conference after the speech, some 10 minutes after Mr. Trump completed his speech. And the intent of that pre-scheduled press conference was to share with all of you an update as to what occurred up until that point at the Trump rally. I shared with you many specifics of occurrences during the day, and one of those things that I shared with you was the alleged sexual assault and the use of OC spray on a 15-year-old Janesville girl. That information at that point in time was based upon the victim's statement. While we had that press conference, this 15-year-old victim was at a local hospital being treated for the effects of the OC spray. At the point of that press conference, we did not have any video to review, nor did we have any witness statements. So I want to impress upon you again, that was a point in time information that we had, and we were sharing with you as quickly as we could. Immediately after that press conference, the police department assigned this crime, if you will, to our detective division, and those detectives were able to review video. They interviewed 13 witnesses, the alleged sexual assault victim and the alleged sexual assault suspect. That suspect at that point, his name is Daniel Crandall, C-R-A-N-D-A-L-L. He is 59 years old and resides in Monroe, Wisconsin. Our investigation revealed that the 15-year-old female believed that she was intentionally touched in the breast area as she felt pressure around the breast area, and as a result she reached out and punched and hit Mr. Crandall. We interviewed Mr. Crandall. He admitted that there was a verbal altercation at the event. During this verbal altercation, he had very animated hand gestures. He had a brochure in his hand, but he claims not to have touched the 15-year-old at any point. When she alleged that she had been touched by him, he stepped back, put his hands up, and looked away. At that point, he was struck once in the left cheek, and immediately following that, approximately 2 seconds later, another male presented pepper spray and delivered that pepper spray, or OC spray, in the face of the 15-year-old. Immediately after this, Mr. Crandall self-reported the incident to a nearby police officer, and in our conversations with Mr. Crandall, he affirms that he does not want to pursue charges against the 15-year-old girl. I'm going to take a few minutes and show you one of the video clips that are available out on the internet and walk you through it. The first video we'll show you here will run all the way through it, and then I've got specific points in time that I wish to stop at. What you will see is this is the 15-year-old female, and this is the Mr. Crandall here, who will later be struck. What you will not see in this frame is the suspect that delivered the OC spray, but in time you will see he will be over Mr. Crandall's left shoulder. So go ahead and run this through. I want you to note that it's pretty tight quarters. start of the verbal exchange in tight quarters. There's the strike and the OC spray. Okay, Leslie, if you go back to 106. You can see the time and distance between the two. Very close quarters. Mr. Crandall's animated with the brochure that is in his hand. And we'll run this through to 1:30. Leslie, we'll stop at 1:30. Okay, now Mr. Crandall's hands come up. You will notice, if you haven't noticed, he took a bit of a step backwards. And in short order here, in about another 30 seconds, he's going to look away. Continue on to 205, Leslie. Watch him look away, hands are up, looks away. People are holding this young woman back. Again, increasing time and distance. And then there'll be the punch. There's the punch at 2:05. Our suspect is right here. He has that OC spray already in his hand by this point. And Leslie, go back and hit play. 2 seconds later, the OC spray is is presented, and the young female is sprayed in the face. She's taken off and gets some medical assistance. We reviewed this video as well as many others, and we did not find evidence of a sexual assault. The video does not support evidence of a sexual assault. It does support that a punch was delivered by a 15-year-old, and it certainly supports that the OC was sprayed into the face of the 15-year-old. Now, for this Trump event, we were very clear that no violence would be allowed at any time in this event. That punch and that use of the OC spray are both acts of violence. We have referred to Juvenile Authorities, the 15-year-old female, for disorderly conduct charges. Could have been an assault charge, but Mr. Crandall didn't want to pursue those charges. There are no charges regarding Mr. Crandall. He committed no crime. We're still looking for the male that presented the OC spray. And we would like to thank many in this nation that contacted the Janesville Police Department. We received video clips and still photos and comments and guidance from all across the nation, from the East Coast to the West Coast. We responded to all. We accepted all information, but it simply just took a little bit of time to work through the video, the witnesses, and the persons involved in receiving their statements. I'd like to remind everyone here that with the exception of this incident, there were no other acts of violence, there were no arrests. This was a peaceful event with almost 2,000 people able to exercise their freedom of speech. I'll answer questions in a few moments. I'm going to bring up Lieutenant Keith Laver here, and he is going to talk about the suspect that we are still looking for. Lieutenant?
Good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the subject who sprayed the 15-year-old. From reviewing all the video, it's pretty clear who our suspect is in that piece of this puzzle. We've described him as a male white. He's early 20s to mid 20s with dark hair. Most of you have seen the photos that we've released on our Nixles and Facebook pages and social media pages. We thank you for that. I would like to clarify that we still have not identified who this person is, and that we would like to know who it is so that we can contact them and speak to them about this matter. I'd like to refer you to the screen, and Leslie, if you can go to the side profile. We've got a number of good photos of this suspect. This is one of those, and this is about the best one that we have in this particular video. That's the image that we would like to get out to the public. A couple more pieces that I'd like to show you. Leslie, can you go to the rear shot? As we look at the suspect from the rear, particularly at his hair, we are not certain whether the white marks in the back of his hair are shaved in there, or whether they are from when he placed his baseball cap on and pulled the hair up, or whether he has like a small bun in the back of his hair, or what exactly that is. But we'd like to point that out in case it's something that's unique to him, that we can show the public, and that will help identify who he is. I think that in this case, the chief's right. We absolutely had a violent-free event until this particular incident occurred. And this stepped it up to a level that we don't think it needed to go to. So I encourage you to press this picture out there for us, and our request that we get some help identifying this subject. Chief.
With that, we'll entertain any questions that you may have.
How do you know that no sexual assault took place? You can't see anything that happened in that video, whether he touched her or not. Did she say, did she recant?
She said that she felt pressure against her breast.
Okay.
Another witness thought that she was groped. But we reviewed many other video clips, some that are more telling than this in terms of the front of the victim, the alleged sexual assault victim. And at no point can we see that there was a sexual assault. You couple that with Mr. Crandall's statement that it did not occur, and there is no evidence to support that. And again, I want to point you to the fact that these are pretty close quarters. These are emotional times, and the brushing up or pushing against someone is probably occurring all over in that crowd. We simply don't have the evidence to support it, and clearly her punch was illegal. There was time and distance separation before she decided to throw that punch. It's an act of violence, That's why we referred her to juvenile authorities, which in Wisconsin is equivalent to an arrest.
What are the repercussions for a minor or something like this?
Again, the juvenile authorities will work with this young woman and the family and find what is best, a best answer for her and that family.
When you say juvenile authorities, who exactly are you referring to?
In the Wisconsin system, there is juvenile probation and juvenile authorities. They accept these referrals and they look holistically at the child as to what the best punishment, if you will, is. They could lecture, they could work with the family to assure that there is a proper upbringing. There's a variety of things. I don't anticipate this young woman would spend any time in jail, if that's what your question is.
Are you talking about the district attorney's office? Because don't those prosecutors still handle juvenile cases?
It goes to the juvenile probation, juvenile authorities first. They could send it on to the district attorney's office, yes.
Could she be charged with making a false report?
She believes she was assaulted. She believes that there was pressure against her breasts. So no.
In regards to the red hat suspect, have you worked any leads? Are there people calling in saying that they believe this person could be this person, or has it just been quiet?
Lieutenant?
Yes, we have received a number of leads in this case. Some we've already determined are not accurate leads, and we have some that we are continuing to follow up on, but at this time we have not identified who he is.
Why was he not contacted during the event yesterday, or the other day? I mean, I guess obviously medical attention was given to the girl, but why did no officers step in to find the man who deployed the pepper spray?
When this occurred, Mr. Trump had not either spoken yet or was in the process of delivering his speech, and I think it's more the former, that he has not spoken yet. So our officers' main responsibility was to assure freedom of speech. It was to assure the safety of all. The immediacy of the safety issue was over very quickly. We saw that victim got assistance and aid, and we knew that we could follow up on this matter later.
I'm just curious about how many videos you go through. You mentioned those 13 witnesses. So, I mean, how many videos came through to you guys? Do you have a ballpark or willing to share that with us?
Keith?
Sure, I would say that over the course of the last couple days, we've probably looked at 40 or 50 videos or photos that have been sent to us, largely through social media.
And then when it comes to tips, I mean, I understand that this was a pretty rapid identification of Crandall. Tell us a little bit about that. Was social media to play a big role in that?
Yeah, that was a piece, and he also had identified himself to a police officer shortly after this event. And I believe one of the news agencies actually had his name in the paper.
And is Crandall a Trump supporter?
I don't know.
Chief, you mentioned that you knew you could follow up on this matter later, but you can't find him now, so was that the right call to make it?
Okay, I thought you were referring to Mr. Crandall.
No,
that we had the videos.
the guy in the,
Right,
the question is, why didn't you find and stop the man in the red hat on the scene when you had so many officers in place? And you say you knew you could follow up on this matter later, but you're not able to follow up right now.
Right, we
Because
still
he's
looking for
gone.
him. I will tell you that he, and if we play this video through, he disappears very quickly. We did not have officers immediately there that saw who sprayed. He was pretty careful about it. In fact, Leslie, I'll have you run that spray through there again. It's, there might have been 3 seconds that it was there, and right after that, he gets a smug look on his face, and he just kind of drifts into the crowd. You can see officers up top. Those are probably the closest ones there. spray. And he just drifts away. I'm sure if those officers had seen that spray, they would have apprehended them immediately, but they simply didn't see it. No officers saw the spray. We saw the results. We saw that the young woman had been sprayed, but we did not see the suspect immediately.
Should these protesters have been separated into the pro and anti-Trump groups? Because it appears that they're mingled.
Thanks, Leslie. We made the decision that it would be very difficult to set up separate areas for those that support Mr. Trump and those that are adverse to Mr. Trump. That would be difficult for us to do. And it would even be more difficult to continue to keep them separated. So we allow free speech throughout the area.
At what point was that decided? Because I know there was a designated free speech area in the beginning of the event.
Right, we had hoped that more people would stay in that area. What had happened during the event is we had very long lines waiting to get in to the event, and not everybody could get in. So now we had all of these people in the parking lot that didn't get into the event. And we decided to politely move them to the north, but they ended up staying in the lot. Things were calm enough that we didn't feel we needed to bring in additional assets and force people to leave the lot.
The 15-year-old girl, she's obviously not a Trump supporter, is what the impression I got.
I don't know.
Did she skip school to come to this event?
She was supposed to be in school.
Truancy situation here, are you guys going to press that here or not?
That's been taken up with the family.
How is she doing after this? I don't know. Police have talked with her since this.
You know?
We've talked to her a number of times since this incident, and I can't tell you how she's doing right now. I think right away she was worried, and she believes she was touched inappropriately, and that's still how she was feeling as we talked with her yesterday. So I can't speak to how she's feeling today.
Can you speak to, with the pepper spray, was that something that will leave a lasting mark on her, or is she going to recover?
Now, the effects of pepper spray last about 15 to 30 minutes and as long as 45, and it's very painful.
She didn't seem to really flinch in some video I've seen when she got sprayed. It was all over her face. And, I mean, I would have cringed or flinched. Is it just, that was pepper spray all over her, right?
That was
You
pepper
have that
spray.
confirmed?
I'm sure wearing glasses helped keep it out of her eyes. It affects the mucous membranes as well. And if you can block it largely from your eyes, that helps.
Mm.
What kind of charges could this guy face for using pepper spray in a crowd? And I wonder what circumstances are you legally allowed to use pepper spray?
Right. We are looking at the circumstances in their totality. So we have a number of options to us. And I can tell you that a battery charge would be appropriate. Illegal use of pepper spray could be appropriate. Disorderly conduct could be appropriate. There's a number of charges that we will look at and make a determination after we identify and speak to this subject and give him an opportunity to speak for himself.
When you say battery, you mean misdemeanor battery?
Yes.
Is there an argument for self-defense of another by using the pepper spray?
I guess we would have to talk to him and see if he wants to make that argument.
Do you believe he's local? I know you're trying to figure out where he is.
Yeah, we're uncertain as to where he's from.
How many witnesses have you guys been able to interview? Have any of them corroborated the 50-year-old's statement?
I believe one has corroborated that statement, and most have not, along with the videos that we've seen that have supported Mr. Crandall's statement.
In total, do you know how many people you guys interviewed?
13.
A lot of investigation for a rather minor crime, I suppose.
Not normal. There's a lot of investigation occurring in this matter, yes.
Any further questions?
I'm just curious about manpower for this event. Do we have a ballpark on estimates of how much that costs just yet? I know it's a little off the topic, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask.
Well, I appreciate your question. We don't refer to it as manpower, but resources.
Resources, forgive me.
We had 350 officers there. We probably could have used 375. There was one moment, a period of time there where all of our assets were used or standing by for their respective duties. We do not know the cost, but the way it works in Wisconsin, Janesville Police Department will be responsible for Janesville officers. Rock County will be responsible for Rock County. Sauk County will be responsible for Sauk County. So Janesville won't suffer the full burden of this event, which I will tell you will be very expensive. But we haven't got Janesville's numbers together yet. Mr. Schultz here in today's paper said it's going to be more than $10,000, and I'll suggest to you that it's going to be significantly more than $10,000. Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.